Very exciting stuff. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to Community Conversations hosted by the Autodesk community. Our community conversations are live virtual events designed to allow you to gain expertise, connect with leaders, and grow your community network. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. Happy clicker. So my name is Kimberly Fuhrman, and I am the Revit Community Manager here at Autodesk. I'll be your community host today. We are joined by the ever so talented Donnia Tabor-Hanson. She's an Autodesk Revit certified professional, and some of you probably know her as CAD Mama. Today we're going to be discussing materials and how they put some skin on the game of Revit families. So Donnia, could you tell us just a little bit more about yourself? Of course, this isn't your first community conversation, but there may be some new people on the call.
That's true. Yes, I have been using Revit since 2005 or so. I designed my house in Revit. And then I did what everybody else without training did. I bailed and took it back to AutoCAD Architecture and redid it. But since then, I have been working very hard to get involved in it. And I truly think this is the software that architects are supposed to be working on after using everything else. And I just enjoy it. And I am based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. A huge fan of the University of Tennessee. And just can't wait to get started today. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so before we begin, we have some ground rules and norms before the conversation. First of all, everyone's line, excuse me, is muted to reduce background noise. We do invite you, like I said, to keep your camera on as you're comfortable so we can get as close to a physical environment in our new virtual world. The conversation should be exactly that. We want to have a conversation. Use the Zoom raise hand function and our moderator will unmute you to ask a question. Donnia will be taking questions throughout and also at the end. And of course, you can type questions in the chat window at any time. We'll be keeping an eye on that. The session is being recorded and it will be emailed to all attendees and also uploaded to our community conversations site. Okay, next slide. So this is our safe harbor statement. Very quickly, I'm not going to read it all to you. If we make any forward-looking statements, I don't want you to make any purchase decisions based on those statements. If you are making purchasing decisions, please look at the software in its state today and that alone. Additionally, Donnia Tabor-Hanson is joining us today as a customer expert and is independent of Autodesk. All activities, advice, and opinions shared by Donnia should not be directly linked to Autodesk. Next slide. Community conversations provide opportunities for engineers, designers, artists, and makers to meet in a safe, live, virtual setting to share expertise, get to know the leaders in your field, and grow your community network. The sessions are always supported by Autodesk community managers like myself to help guide conversation, feed important insights back from the community to Autodesk, and support participants in getting connected to the expertise you need. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Donnia.
Okay. So I just want to welcome you to the next topic on our Revit families in our community conversations. My name is Donnia Tabor-Hanson. And I want to share with things that I've learned through Revit, but I think I've always come back to the idea of the families because I think they're more interesting than anything. I've done the big projects and everything, but I still like the minutiae of the families and what you can do with those. And the families run throughout everything in Revit. And that's one of the things we want to keep building on in these conversations. We've been dealing mostly with component family type of things, but we also want to get into schedule families and wall families and things like that in our future. So let's look at some stuff about materials and how they put some skin in the game. We started with our Revit templates, family templates, then we built the bones. We did our reference planes, and then we started putting muscle on these families, and we did our extrusions and sweeps and things like that. So now we're going to put some skin on it, and this is basically how it's going to make things look in the project. So let's get right on into this. So here's what we're going through today. The elephant in the room. if you've opened up any of the latest versions, 20, 21, 22 of Revit, and you look at your materials, everybody gets that little triangle in the corner. We're going to talk about that little triangle in the corner. We're also going to look at about how to find and fix some of the current assets if you want to update them to have the latest versions of assets and what that entails. And we're going to look at adding some materials to your current project, be it a project or a family. When they've got materials out there that we can use, let's go get how to bring them in easily. And then we're going to build a material from scratch. All this today. Yes, we can do this. And then we're going to do some Q&A and preview of upcoming topics. And if you've been following us on our social media, this is very exciting. I am so excited about doing this. We're going to let you vote on the next topics. I got a list of 4 things, and you guys are going to get to decide what we're going to do next. So I have no idea what we're doing next, but I'm going to throw things out there. We're going to put up a poll toward the end and let you guys get to this. I'm so excited about that. That's going to be so much fun. So let's get started with the elephant in the room. And that would be, have you seen that little triangle? That little triangle, yellow thing in the corner of your materials preview that screams error. And what is it about? Do you need to replace it or not? And this is what Autodesk is. This is a quote, that little quote that comes up there. For improved rendering, replace the current appearance asset in the material with the newer version. Well, it sounds like, oh, I'm going to be busy replacing all those, because if you look in your templates, 20, 21, 22, every material has that little yellow triangle on it. So you're wondering, like, well, why didn't they fix that? Well, here's why. I found this on the Knowledge Network. This is not mandatory to fix these. Newer versions of the materials may not exist or match exactly. Okay. Not all applications will support updated rendering appearance, for example, 3D Max. Okay. You get more confused as you're reading this, or is this just these? Like, if you're using multiple product workflow for rendering, make sure the new materials work in each step of the workflow before fully implementing. Okay. So it's like, why would we, okay. So has anybody put up a question yet? So like, okay, no. Yeah. Why would we do this? Okay. It's going to be up to you. It's really going to be up to you. They're supposed to enhance your rendering. They haven't replaced them all. You're going to have to do some on your own. And then you need to test it in all your platforms. So if you want to do this, what we're going to do is look at finding how to fix the current assets with the new assets that they've provided for us that may or may not work in 3D Studio Max. So to get started with this, if you do want to try to fix this based on those warnings and stuff, why don't we start with, let's do a duplication. Maybe a really good idea. And I'm going to go and we're going to look at just a brick common. That's something that is used a lot. It's in a lot of the walls and stuff. So I'm just going to look at one of the basics. And the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate it. And when you do that, you just right click and duplicate. And then we're going to open up the asset browser. So let's jump over to Revit and do this. Okay, this is where I'm going to be working today. These are my materials that I've been working with. I'm going to show you the progression of updating that I have done with my Revit family materials. So I'm just going to leave that up in there because right now we're just going to work on the brick material here in this project. This was a project that was started off of the out of the box template. And I'm going to work on manage.
Hey, Donnia.
And under materials, I'm going to go get the brick common. Everyone has the little yellow. That's an elephant in the room. Maybe his nose is in the corner. I don't know. Brick common, and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to leave its name right there. And then I'm going to open up the asset browser. All right. So we've gotten that far. So what is next? Next, we're going to talk about the asset browser. We'll get back to the brick in a minute, but let's review the asset browser. In the asset browser, I just did a screen capture. I'm going to search for brick. You've got your document assets, and these are the ones that are in your current file, be it a project file or family file. If you get a lot of duplicates sometimes, and they will have the typical name, open parentheses, number, close parentheses. Just in the template that I started with today, there were several generic, up to about 9 generic that were set up. So you do get duplicates of assets and stuff. And you want to take note of the next thing would be the physical assets. The physical assets are the structural analysis. Now, I work in kitchens. I don't do a lot of structural analysis, but I go ahead and I add the structural analysis information to my materials when I'm updating. I like to add anything new that they might have. I never know when I might need it in the future. And if I'm updating now, I'll have it later. And then the next would be the appearance library. This is, so you have your document assets, you got your physical assets, then you have your appearance assets. This is strictly the way it looks for graphical representation. And it must be said that the original materials and the templates, not changed in there, every one of them had the yellow triangle. But now here I can see some of the new materials that don't have the little yellow triangle down here in the asset browser. So let's get back to fixing up our brick. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to search for brick, and I'll check the document for the asset and the physical, because I've already got brick in there. We know this because I've duplicated it. So I come over here and search for brick. And in my document assets, I can see now I've got under the aspects, you have physical, thermal, and appearances. The physical and thermal will be under the physical aspects, and the appearances will be, of course, under the appearance one. So this is what I have currently in my current document. So I probably don't need to go and get the physical aspects of I've already got physical and thermal here. Probably don't need to change those. I seriously doubt they change much from one version to the next. This is basically more about the appearance of stuff. So I'm not going to mess with my thermal or my physical. Let's go ahead and expand that information to see what we got here. Brick common, it's going to mess with my appearance. So the first thing I got to do is come down into the appearance over here, and we go back to make sure we're only searching the brick. And under masonry, I can start looking for something close. This one was a non-uniform running burgundy. So why don't I go get a brick? No, that's the red, but that's got the yellow on it. So maybe I want to get, I gotta go back here. Oh, I gotta come back down here. I'm in the wrong place. Lost myself for a second. There, I get it running red. And all I have to do to get over here is I just use this to push it into here. And when I do this, the appearance information is going to change on this. And now we're going to go to the running red. Okay, so we have looked at how to get things over there, and we compared the physical, and then we went and we took a note of the triangle, which ones we wanted to get. By the way, there is no way to sort between the old and the new versions of these. And really, you just have to keep looking to see what you want to do to replace them. And there is no way to mass replace these. You have to do them individually. What fun.
Hey, Donnia.
Yes.
There was a question that came in. What about non-Autodesk products? This is from Dave. For example, does Enscape support all of the new materials?
I don't have a list of things. It's something we might have to look for, but I still maintain the fact that duplicate, test it in all the different things. That's all I could find. I didn't find anything in my search on what products worked with the new assets and what didn't. So it's a matter of just finding something that's close, duplicate it, test it out, see what's working, and then decide if you want to change them out or not.
Okay.
So it'd be something you'd have to test. Yeah, I looked and could not find anything that listed what used the new assets. So I'm still looking here like, do I really need them? We'll look at my decision later. So then all I had to do is just push it through. So we've got that push through. And now I can go back and I can start working on just the appearance tab. So I'm done with the asset browser. So I can go back over here and I can close the asset browser and I can look at this. Now in updating to the new material, I want to get it, compare it to the old one. So I will go back and forth between them. And let's see, up here you were called, oh, look in here, non-uniform. Okay, I want this one to be something similar, but as we all know, this is a database. It can't be the same name. So I may just come in here and replace this with that. Same thing right here, just to keep consistency. I like everything to be consistent and cover all the bases. I could probably keep this to be the same there. That's just brick. So now let's start looking at how it's going to look on the appearance. And right now I've got this red brick. And my previous one, it had a brick non-running burgundy. Okay, so this is where you start comparing things, and you want to start comparing the parameters, the relief patterns also, and you change these assets as required. You just want to set them up and do as you want. I try to make them match, and you can generally find the same name. I found some to be uppercase now where they were lowercase. So I've changed my names, and then that is where I'm comparing the two, and I'm going to change these images to match the images that I had in the old version for this new one. And then we'll look at the bump pattern also and make sure that it changes over. All of this is nothing more than to get what we want in the look of the material. So I come back over here to the one I'm changing, and I'm going to click on this link, and it should take you to where you can find your mats. If not, yeah, I'm going to post that later in the chat, the path for that. I've got it down to remember to post that. So this was color red, but what I wanted was the color burgundy, making sure I don't get the soldier, but that I get the non-uniform burgundy. Okay, so we can match that. And then I need to get the bump map for it. And let's just go get the bump for the non-uniform. So now I'm matching that. And then if I go on down, I also have the relief pattern down here. You do want to keep going down, but there's a lot of things in here that you can play around with. And if I get on this, I'm going to also go get the non-uniform bump map. And the bump map is a grayscale pattern that the color is applied to, and this is what helps make the rendering colors look right. So that gets everything on my appearance tab that I need for my new brick, and I've matched everything up the way I needed to. Okay, so it's kind of odd. We went from thermal to physical to appearance, and now we're only going to go to the graphics tab to compare any more changes that might need to be done. And to keep it more realistic and shaded and consistent colors for the visual styles, I always use the check render appearance on my materials. So let's go back and do that. So go over to the graphics tab, and I'm just going to say, they're set good over there, just use them. And then, oh, I went too far. Then I want to look at the materials and see about anything else. I've already got the surface pattern and stuff. This came with it because it was duplicated. And then you also then want to go test your material wherever you need to use it, in the Inkscape and etc., the other places you need to use it. So test it, and test it again. And that's all you need to do to do. And I know I'm talking about it, but really it's just a couple of clicks and you're done. Is there a downside to checking the use render appearance box? It makes it a little less cartoonish, is the upside by checking it. If you don't use the render appearance, it's going to use this color that is on your graphics tab. Oh, is there a Dynamo plugin that makes this easier? There's something to research. That would be good to know. Who sent that in? Anthony, why don't you post that question in the chat for our community conversation, and we can do a follow-up with this after this session is over today. That would be a great one to follow up with. So yeah, I'm talking through it, and it takes a while to talk through it, but actually it doesn't take that long to go through and find these things and just click them over. Mm-hmm. So any other questions there? I was
just responding actually to Dan. He asked, is it possible to change the image for that material rather than make a duplicate? And I think when you were showing where the mats are located, that's that process. So I'm going to have him follow up with you if he has any more questions.
Yeah, the same process. I only did was duplicate, and then I just started changing things. You can just start changing those things if you want to. But after those warnings, I'm duplicating. I've been bit before.
Right.
So yeah, after those warnings, I will duplicate because I don't want to have to go back and redo that again. So great questions. Great questions. All right. So now we're going to look at if we just need a material and we just want to go get one and bring it in. And this is easy enough to do. And it starts out with, we're going to create a new material. And then we're going to open the asset browser. Guess what? About anything you do, you're going to create a new material, either duplicate or, and then you're going to go to the asset browser. So let's go create some tile. So I always want to start as if I was starting from fresh. I don't know why, I was already there. But you can just go down here and say, create new material, and then open the asset browser. And I want to do a tile. So I'm going to go and I'm going to search for tile. And I can start off in my document assets to see if I've already got the physical asset for the tile that I may want. Or I could go into the physical assets. And if I bring over a physical asset that's already there, it's going to duplicate it. So let's go back and get me a physical asset. And I can look here and I can see tile ceramic. But if I didn't look in my document first, and I went down here to ceramic, I want physical aspects. And I'm not getting physical, that is appearance. So let's go down to tile. Well, there's porcelain. I can push that over here. But as you see, what it did is it pulled up and said tile porcelain 1. If I try to change that, oh, it's already a use in your name. So I could go back to my document and say, well, let's go ahead and keeps making me redo the search. Something I wish it wouldn't do. And I can go to the little tile ceramic. Let's just put the tile ceramic on it. So that gave me that aspect. And I need, that was the thermal. Now I need to look for tile again. Autodesk, are you listening to this? I don't want to keep going back and forth. The physical of the tile porcelain, I can push that through and then I don't have the one behind it. But that's how a lot of these assets get duplicated. If you notice when you purge, you'll have your materials and you have material assets that purge. So this is how you get a lot of duplicates, is things like that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is go to the appearance library and look for the asset that I want, and then I want to push it over. So let's go look for a 6-inch beige tile in the appearance library. Again, tile. And I want to go down here to ceramic tile and 6-inch beige tile. I can just push that over, pops me over to my appearance tab, and it's updating the preview, and it updates tiles like to be done on the cube. And you can see it brought over the name and everything as it needed to be. While it's doing that, I can also show it has a bump for the 6-inch tile. I'm done with my assets, so I can close the asset browser at this point, and everything else will be done in here. And all it says is bring over the appearance, and it's taking forever. There it is. And you can see it looks like a tile on the box. It doesn't bring over anything graphic. So unless you want it to be gray, you're going to want to hit that use render appearance. And you may want to go ahead and pick you a pattern. I would use model patterns because they don't grow and shrink. I've got 4, I've got 8-inch tile. I will go with 8-inch tile because this is just a representation for your elevations in, or if this is on the wall, elevations in your hidden line mode and stuff. I can look, we're going to look at this more in detail when we create our own, but that is simple enough right there to get me what I need for a new pattern The main thing is if you're looking at your rendering, it's going to render perfectly because that is under your appearance. Your graphic is more for your non-high visual assets. And then, of course, the last thing, don't want to rename it. And I have a cheat for that, short way of doing that. I'll come over here to the appearance, and it says that it's a 6-inch beige tile. You realize I hate typing. Copy, come over here, right click, and I can rename, and I will say tile, space, space, paste. And there I've just brought over a material that they had, a couple of tweaks, easy does it. You may want to look at the graphics things. We're going to go into more depth in this when we create our own from scratch here in a minute. But that is a way you can get a material brought over quickly from something that's already there. Okay. So how are we on questions?
We have a few. Dave asks, is there any downside to checking the use render appearance box?
Downside? No, the upside is I don't have to do as much work here and it looks less cartoonish. The downside was if you don't check it, it looks cartoonish because it has more of a flat color that you would find on your appearance, not on your appearance, on your graphic. Mm-hmm. It would be the, if you don't use this one stayed because I had brought it over. Otherwise it was gray before, but see, by even checking that to begin with, the upside is it changed the color from the gray that was there, the default gray color. Now I have not found any, I just want to use that. Just to me, it makes it look more real all along. Anything else?
So we are listening. I wanted to let you know that on our Trello public roadmap, I posted a link to duplicate materials with assets. So that is something that our product teams are looking at and working on as we speak. Yeah. And then Hans asked, is there a way to mass import materials from an Excel database? Will this solve the problem?
Oh, that sounds like a look for Dynamo. That's a great question to put in the chat, and we can do some research on that and come back on that. That'd be great.
Yeah, my thought is we use the ADSK LIB file extension, so it would have to kind of translate into that in order to come into the material browser, but that's probably something that you could look at for sure.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. Now we're going to build a material from scratch. And to do this, one of the first things we're going to do is, create a material. The next thing we're going to do, guess what? Open the asset browser. So let's go and do that. Oh, I don't have to do this. I can actually just create from here. I always have a tendency to want to close it and go from the beginning. Create a new material. Let's do a subway tile. I'm going to open the asset browser. The first thing I want to do is try to search for physical assets in the document asset first so we don't duplicate. And I can use that physical asset option first, or else there will be duplication, exactly. And then all you got to do is just push it over. So I have got a material that has graphics and appearance. I don't have anything physical. So if I come over here and look at document assets, again, I'm going to look for tile, and I did this on purpose because I knew it was already there. I can look at the ceramic tile thermal, and then I can go back to tile. That's what I want them to listen to, is make me not have to do that again. You go from thermal, I can look at the physical aspects and I can push that over also. So now I have porcelain tile and thermal without duplicating again by going through the physical aspect to begin with. It's always important to look at what you have. And that's where a lot of people don't look at what they have. So then we're going to go to appearance, and I'm going to close the asset browser because I'm not going to use their appearance. I'm going to create my own from this point on. I like my tile to be on a cube, so I'm going to set myself up on a cube. Generic 10. Okay, started a new family, and it says, okay, we're going to start. We'll just create the next generic duplicate. Well, I'm going to call this one. Here, let me go back up here and make sure I'm sticking with my script. Okay, yeah, next I'm going to fill out the information with subway tile and then call it ceramic tile. And then I'll go start looking at colors. So let's go back to here. I let's get ahead of myself. Oh, come on. Copy, paste, and then ceramic tile. All right, so I've got my names down. And the next thing I want to do is start looking at the color, and I'm going to look for a white tile. And come down in here, and I could just go white and go completely white, or maybe I want to tone it just a little bit or something, however you want to go. And then next I want to choose an image. There's no image for this. I want to give me the image that's going to give me the look of tile that I want. So I will want to go to select image. So I come in here and hit where it says no image, I can go select image. Now this list can get a bit daunting. Oh my gosh, the stuff you got. And if you build a lot of materials, you do get used to this, but it might be fun just to go and open up the browser where this is and start looking at some of these things. I just know if I'm going to tile, I can start typing tile. Oh, look, tile ceramic. Okay. Oh, look, it was right. It gave me a tile ceramic. So this is the tile that I want. And so, by the way, the images can be reviewed here. I'm going to put this path in the chat so that if you want to go just play around looking at images, you can go there. Okay. Now, if I want to make sure that this is the right size tile, then I will want to go in and you can pick on the tile in the image, and it will bring you up to a dialog box where you can see about setting the size of this. Now, in this example, Google search showed me that a typical subway tile was 3 inches by 6 inches. So with that information, let's go back, and I picked on this image just in the middle of the image, and it brings up the texture editor. Well, this says it's 1 foot by 1 foot. And on my example, said 2 foot by 2 foot. That's what I need. But to do that, I went, well, 1 foot, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means those are 3 inches long. So I'll go down here and search to where I can find my size. The size and height are locked so that it scales disproportionately. And I just put in 24 inches. And it came back with 2 foot. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 foot. So that would be 6, 12, 18, 24. And I'm going to assume that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have the perfect 3 inches by 6 inch subway tile. You can explore other things down through here. You can see about repeating. Well, I'm tiling it. It's tile. And you can look at positions and set them off. I'm going to just go with what it is. You can check on your brightness. If you want to invert the image. Oh, we got black tile now. We're wanting white subway tile. So when I'm done with that, it's all good. And so, yeah, I found the information. I set my scale. And you may want to just continue exploring some things while you're in this texture editor and see what else you can do with things. And it depends on what you've got as to what you're going to have information given to you as to how you're going to repeat patterns or scale patterns and such. So each one depends on a little bit of exploration to find out what you've got. Okay.
All right. So Brett asks, why are there 3 material folders, 1, 2, and 3 mats?
Excellent question. We have no idea.
You don't?
I don't. Do you?
I know I think
Yay.
I know the answer to this question is you have low resolution, medium resolution, and high resolution images. And so it's 1, 2, and 3 for the resolutions.
I have never thought about that.
Never, yeah.
No, I always just went where it took me.
Yeah, someone else can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the high resolution is the 3.
Okay, so
but you can always check. Yeah, you can always check the JPEG resolution of one of them to see which is which, but I'm pretty sure it's low, medium, and high, 1, 2, and 3.
Yay! I learned something today. I can go home. Oh, no. I am home.
Yeah. But yeah, Robert says I'm correct, so I'm good.
Good. Yay! Thank you. Oh, this was great. I love this. Okay, so then we're going to go back over to the graphics tab, and we're going to check the use render appearance, but we're going to do a little bit more in there. You want to add a surface pattern for foreground and visual styles, anything other than realistic type of things, you want to add a pattern that's going to show up so it looks like tile. So to do that, I'm going to go back over. And like I did before, I'm going to hit the use render appearance. I always like that one. That was just deal with it. Just you do whatever you need to do. I'm not going to pick a drafting pattern because they scale. I'm going to pick a model pattern and not going to find subway tile. So I'm just going to go with brick. All this is a graphical representation while I'm in a view that's not rendered type of thing. And the brick shows up as if it was subway tile. Now, if you want to go create your own patterns, go for it. That's not this class. I've done some before. It's not fun. You do them in AutoCAD and bring them over, frankly. It's much easier. I don't care about background, cut patterns, or anything. And we're going to talk about cut patterns when I look at some of my materials here in a little bit, too. So basically, I have now set up everything except renaming the material. So you do want to go back and rename your material. You do not want to keep leaving as default new material. How confusing are you going to make it for yourself? Okay. So there's my subway tile, and we have now completed creating a new material from scratch without using their material appearances. We did our own material appearances and everything ourselves. Let's see. Do we have any questions there? You should be able to tell about the file size.
Yeah, that goes back to the JPEG discussion. And Robert just said PyRevit is a great tool for creating patterns inside of Revit. No need for AutoCAD. So that is good to know.
Nice. Thanks, Robert. Yeah. I like that. So, all right. So let's, how are we doing on time? We're doing pretty good.
20 minutes. Yeah.
This is good for me. I've got 2 more things to go through. And we still have our poll to do. That's so exciting. I get excited on these. Okay. Some final thoughts on material. I'm going to look at some examples from the material my family materials file that we do. And when we're going to talk about, you ever notice that subcategories idea that you have when you build a family and you put materials on? We're talking about the subcategories. So let's go look at my materials and how they've evolved. This one, well, here, this was my family materials in 2018. This was when I developed this this family with my materials in it. To show you my materials, I've got, this is confusing. I go into a project and manage is like way over here. I'm in families all the time. I'll go for manage. I'm always right here. So these are, oh yeah, Dynamo. That's fun. That's a fun material. Yeah, I don't use it much either. And I usually would delete it out of my families, but this one was one that has been left in the background and had been duplicated before. This is my old version. This was my original, and somehow Dynamo got in here. All of these do not have the new look on. And I've got basically some stainless steel, some rubber, black plastic, look like knobs. The rubber's for, casters. I have my clearances that we use with service mandatory door and drawer clearances. And then I have my phasing. And this was the 2018 version. Now the 2021 version, which I'm working in, that's the updated one. This is the 2021 version that I have of this, and there has been some changes in these. These are my clearances, these colorful little things here. This is my door and drawers. This is my mandatory. This is my service clearance. This is my black rubber. This is my black plastic. This is stainless steel. This is a stainless steel that was customer driven. This one right here is, I put a pattern on it so that I could see it. We do a lot of drains, your drip trays for your drink fountain drinks or your bar taps and stuff. So I have one with holes in it. And then we have glass. So these are just the basic materials that I use often, but there's more in this than that. If I go to a plan view, I also keep some lines in here, symbolic lines. These symbolic lines show up in my object styles. And I use the symbolic lines for my subcategory for my clearances. Now, the clearances should never show up in a print view. They are there strictly for our working views to make sure that we do have space for our clearances. We can run, clash detection on them because they are a material, they are an extrusion or something. But they also have a subcategory. When you're building material and you pick your material, the subcategory is the line work on it. And all of our subcategories for our clearances are dashed lines. So that if they do show up in a view, then they should be dashed so you don't think that it's part of the object itself. So it's just a way that we use to help our all of our team know that this is what is not part of it. It shows you the clearance so you can see the door swings, or you can see the area around the object when you're placing it. So you have to keep it so far from the back, so from the side. So that is what a subcategory can do for you when you're looking at materials, is give you some line work on there. And we have all of ours doing a grayscale. When they are in print view, though, print views are set so these are only show up in our medium view, which is our working views when we get into our templates and stuff. So that's how our materials start out. This one has been updated a little bit. Notice a little bit more, not as default gray. It's more of a gray that is considered more stainless steel. This glass looks real different from this glass. And the difference here, what have I been telling you about? This one has, if I click in here, this one had the render appearance set. This one did not. So somewhere between 18 and this one may have been done in 19, 20, 21, I don't know. All I did was check the render appearance. So you see the difference in that. And if I come in here to this one, and if I go to my realistic, you will see that I have a hole cut pattern on it so that it would show up with holes. Let's look at that because we didn't do that before. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. It's under appearance. When you go down to cutouts, you can pick, much as I did with the other, I picked on here and I found a hole cutout. And here's where I went in and I said, well, that's about a ½ an inch between those. And that's how I scaled my hole pattern. So much like I did putting the pattern on there for the subway tile, I can put a cutout pattern on there. And yeah, when you render, you get a hole pattern. Now, somewhere between here and here, if I go back to consistent colors, this is where I have gone in and I've updated all the assets except for my phasing, because those were generic. There's no update for generic, so I just left it. I don't see a lot of difference in them between this one and this one. I don't see a lot of difference in them. Pardon me. I don't know why I would want to change it over. If, for one thing, it doesn't work with all rendering. I don't know where some of my families get taken by the architect or something when they go out somewhere. I'm not updating. That's my personal preference for our company, is we're not updating to the new material assets because we don't feel like it's going to be a benefit to us. It's something you're going to have to weigh out. How am I doing on time? I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that poll. Yes. So at this point, I'm not updating. But let me tell you the benefit of having this family here. Yes, these materials are built into my family templates, but I don't always get to work with families that I build. They will bring me families from other websites. I'm not naming any names. And a lot of times I have to clean them up. So one of the first things I'm going to have to do is I am going to transfer project standards and bring my materials in to the family that I have to adopt now and into my library. Adoption is part of family. You grow your family by adoption. So I have to adopt families and bring these in. So I can transfer project standards, then I can change out, for example, their clearances and stuff and make sure that they're set the way they need to be set. So that's one of the great benefits of having this particular family with my materials in it. And it also keeps a consistency of our materials throughout projects. So all of our, when they do render, everything renders the same. But you wouldn't believe how many stainless steels there are out there. There was a while, it's like every manufacturer had their own stainless steel. All they did was add their name to it. Hobart stainless steel. And it'd be like, McDonald's fries and this one's fries and that one's fries. They're all fries. They just have the same material. That was frustrating. It was, frustrating to me. So let me go on to the next thing. I revealed what subcategories can do for you. Now, how to check your document for its assets. If you go into a project and you want to see how many assets you have, how many are duplicate and stuff, go into your materials where manage. I'm in a project, manage materials. You can just come right down here to the asset browser, go straight to your assets and start looking and seeing what you have. And these are the assets that came. Look here, I saw a duplicate. There's a duplicate default already. Generic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a project that I just started a new project, and I've only done the couple of tiles in there and the brick. And you can see that there's already duplicates and stuff in there. And where's my favorite one to kill? There's a poche. That's a great pattern, ain't it? Yeah, blow it out. Now here's a problem. If you have a family that you're working on and you put it into a project, it can come out with a bunch of these materials on there. This takes me to two of my pet peeves involving materials. If you're working on a family, you put it in a project, something doesn't work. First thing you're gonna do is right click, edit. When you did that, what happened is there's some materials that became Klingons. Do not credit me with being a Star Trek fan. In my geekdom, that's the one chromosome I missed. Star Wars, any of the others, yeah, I did not. Klingon, let's get back to the Klingons. These are materials that cling on to your family and they come out with it. Defaults. I don't need door defaults and wall defaults. And I'm building a stove. I love this one. Site Earth comes out with it. And all the times of building families for kitchens, I have never used Site Earth a single time. Poche, that one comes too. So if you open a family from a project, you have just increased the family size by all these materials, and you purge and you look and they don't go away. You have to go delete them. You have to go delete them. They don't purge out the default stuff. Glass is another one that always comes in. I can't purge out glass because it may be in the family. So yeah, it's tough. That's one of my pet peeves. Now my other pet peeve, and this was the first thing that people would do with materials. In any architect's office I've ever worked in, consulted in, or whatever, well, the first things that someone would do, and maybe by now they've quit, but it's been a while since I've seen it, but I don't see a lot of architectural files from site. They would go in and they would try to put a chipboard ceiling in and it wouldn't show up. They put another one. Now they got 2, 3 ceilings on top of each other because they couldn't see it. Well, let's go put a material on it so we can see it. Let's go edit gypsum wallboard. Let's put sand pattern on it. Great. Go look at your elevation. Sand everywhere. Guys, duplicate. Duplicate gypsum wallboard. Now it's gypsum wallboard ceiling. And you put that on your ceilings and you don't put it on your wallboard. Then you have gypsum. Duplicate is so very important. Some of these things. So there's my 2 pet peeves. Is all the stuff, the Klingons that come out. Don't pack any more bags for me. I've got enough luggage as it is. And the fact that people don't pay attention to duplications when they need to. All right. Now, do we have any questions out there?
Just one from Hans. Does the material issue have something to do with IFC version 4's new structure?
The material issue of them clinging, the Klingons?
I'm thinking possibly just the new materials versus the old materials. And having to replace them.
I'm not sure. I find this in there and I hate a little error message. So I'm looking at, do I want to get rid of it? So I did some research on, like I call it the elephant in the room, because we don't like to see error messages. We want to, clean up our errors. So I don't know how it came about. It's been there at least since 2020. But frankly, I'm not going to be changing ours. It's personal preference. So you're going to decide whether you change it or not, depending on how it looks with your rendering and all the different places that you work.
Yeah, I think just to add to your pet peeves, I know from my production experience, bringing families in that had RGB materials. So the materials were actually listed as RGB. and you had to go and change the color to match whatever the name of the material was in order to get the correct color.
Oh no, I
You
purge
went
out
into
all
that?
that.
Yeah.
You purge out. I always when I go, let me just.
That was
let me
way
just-
back in my early Revit
Oh,
days. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it can happen now. When those families come in, those bless their heart, the ones I have to adopt, I will go in and look at them. And one of the things I always go look at, and under the Manage tab, is your object styles. I like these. I hit this and go, yeah, there better not be anything there. And when you look at your materials and you see anything that has, I don't have anything in there with it now, but when you see anything that is an imported material that's AutoCAD, yeah, those guys are out. I made a lot of money working years and years in AutoCAD, promoting AutoCAD. I don't touch it now, but I don't have to.
That's great.
Okay.
It's probably time for a poll.
I think so. Any questions left on the table? We just did that. Other topics are in the works. Let's do a poll. Hints and hacks. I think this is great. I'm coining this as my own phrase because tips and tricks is so blasé. I do hints and hacks now. I've decided. This is going to be my own thing here. So the poll is coming up on the screen. Those of you that are on here live will see the poll. Those that are not on here live will not see the poll. So hints and hacks has got 1 vote. We're at 100%. It's in the lead. We could do catalogs and library preps. And I think catalogs and library prep come together because a lot of times when I'm preparing for a family for the library, I don't want to see 20 different types in there. That's a library. How about the favorite fabulous formulas for families in Revit? No, that didn't work. Famous fabulous formulas for families in Revit. That one I know is a hot topic that has been mentioned in the past, is formulas. And then testing families and the home wrecker. You know who the home wreckers are. They're the ones that take your families and they see what can break on them. These are good people to have around when you're a family builder. I like the idea of having a home wrecker. And you guys, some of you know who you are. I think I saw some hands raised. Yeah. You know who you are if you are the home wrecker. So how about this? Right now, catalogs, libraries, hints, hacks, catalogs, libraries, hints, hacks. Famous fabulous formulas is not too far behind, but you guys keep it going. And let me go ahead and turn it over to you. And don't forget the other topics in the communities, and we'll keep the poll running. But Kimberly, I'll let you have it back right
All
there.
right. So one last question from Tim. He asked if you are still involved with smog.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Tim, it's been a long time. Smog was not the dragon from the, never mind. Smog, the Smoky Mountain Autodesk user group disbanded years ago. I was the one that had it for about 12 years. I ran the user group here in town. Yeah, the Smoky Mountain Autodesk user group. Haven't thought about that in a while. Hi, Tim, how are you?
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up today's session with 2 final slides. If you're looking for other ways to connect and engage in the Autodesk community, we have a few resources for you. You can explore the various Autodesk communities, including the global network of user groups in the Autodesk Group Network, our industry-focused communities helping your colleagues solve business challenges together, the Autodesk forums. Don't forget to check out those Revit ideas, and staying connected with us on Twitter. Okay, go ahead to the next slide. So thank you for attending today's community conversation. We certainly welcome your feedback about your experience today. We're going to be sending you a survey next week in your email with the link to today's recording. So continue to stay connected in the Autodesk community, and we hope to see you next time. Donnia, thank you so much for your time today. I learned, of course, something new again today. Thank you.
Who won? Who won?
Who won?
Is our survey still going?
Yeah, it looks like the catalogs and library prep for
Wow.
Revit families.
I thought
Barely.
hints and hacks or formulas would do it.
Yeah, it was very close between that one and hints and hacks.
Okay, so the order will be catalogs, hints and hacks, and then formulas, and then we'll do the home wrecker.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, thank you,
guys.
Donnia.
It's been fantastic. Looking forward to next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.